lentils, these are the green lentils, these are the beluga lentils. And when you grind it dry, it becomes much finer and easier to process. Thank you, appreciate it. So that is why the ingredients say blend dry lentils and then add water. If you're okay with having a little bit more textural inconsistencies in your flatbread, then you can just add the two in the same place. The result is better. Yes?
Can you also put the lentils in like a berry grinder as well?
I have not tried that, but I don't see why not.
Okay, I don't know with them being smaller if they would grind them as well.
It should work.
Okay.
Yeah. The recipe also calls for red lentils because they are easier to blend. If you have a standard blender, red lentils are probably going to be your best bet. If you have a high-powered blender, you can do this with any kind of lentil. Which ones would you like to see me do? No, wait.
Beluga.
Beluga. Okay, cool. We're going to do beluga. Thank you. So here are our beluga lentils. You can see they're adorable little cute lentils. I'm just going to do a half a cup because we don't need to be doing a whole lot for this. I realized I made a mistake when I sent these to Melissa. Right now it's a 1-to-1 ratio of lentils to water. It should be 1-to-2, so it should be twice as much water. Yep, make a note on your recipes. It should be twice as much water as it is lentils.
So it should be 2 cups of the water.
It should be 2, yep.
Right here?
Yes.
Yes.
So change it to 2 cups of boiling water.
Yep. So I'm going to blend this while you're all making that note.
Got it.
You can see the mist kind of coming up the top here. Okay, I put in a half a cup of flour. Oh, we're sending flour everywhere. Then I'm going to eyeball my 1 cup of water. Another thing you should know about these recipes is I rarely measure anything with measuring cups. So if you're making any one of these and think, I think this needs more of this, or I think this needs less of that, you're probably right. For what you want to make, that's probably the case. So,
You have to just tell us the consistency it should be.
well, that's up to you too. I'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to blend this again. I'm going to make more noise. All right, if you want to use this, this is going to be kind of depending on how thick or how thin you make it, it can either be more of a tortilla consistency or it can be more of a flatbread consistency. So if it's a little bit thinner, it's going to be more like a tortilla. If it's going to be thicker, I added too much water, so I'm going to add more of this flour I already have pre-made. Did I just say thinner or thicker?
Don't know, but it made sense.
Cool. If you want it thicker, if you want it more like a pancake, add less water. If you want it more like a tortilla, add more water. There we go. I got it both out that time. Okay, mix that in. So this is definitely going to be more on the crepe side of the spectrum. My pan is already preheated to probably medium heat. I'm just going to pour this in. This one's definitely going to be more crepe-like. I found that with the beluga lentils that it worked better if it was a little bit thinner. So if these were red lentils, I would probably make it a little bit thicker, but you can see the consistency there kind of maybe. Yes, no, maybe so. And we are just going to let that set just like that. And it's going to cook and do its thing, and then it's going to, we're going to flip it here in a little bit. It probably is still a bit on the thin side. It probably should be a little bit thicker than that. That's what I get for not measuring. I did a half cup now. Okay,
Spray
see what happens.
the pan with oil or?
So with this pan, I did not spray it with oil when I was testing it out there. It worked fine without oil. If you are using not a nonstick, then I would definitely recommend using a little bit of a spray or a little bit of oil or something. But that's going to depend on your pan. This I was able to just do dry, and they turned out beautifully. So here you can see that they have, these are cold, and they're still pretty flexible. So if you made this bigger, you could pretty easily put some lettuce or some whatever you want to put in here and eat it like a little, it looks more like a taco than like a wrap, doesn't it?
So that's just the beans and water.
This is just the beans and water. Yep, that's all this is. So this is with the beluga lentils, this is with the red lentils, and then under here we have it with the green lentils. So you can see the 3 different consistencies there, which is fun. And the 3 beautiful flowers we have here.
Are there different flavors in
A
the?
little bit. A little bit. The red lentils are definitely the most mild. They're the most neutral tasting. The beluga lentils have a bit of a nuttier, almost a... They definitely have a stronger flavor to them. And then again, the green lentils are kind of in the middle. Yep.
Would you say you used to grind up the flour?
What did I use to grind up the flour? I used...
Did you use that?
Yes, I use the blender to grind up the flour. If you don't have a blender, if you have a food processor, that would also work. Food processor would be great for this.
So is this something, depending on the consistency or how much water you put with it, you could also make crackers?
You probably could. It'd be worth a try.
As long as it's fine. It might be hard if it's the,
It's not going to be a crispy cracker.
okay.
I mean, if you look at this, this isn't crunchy. This is still
I
pretty
wonder if you baked it.
flexible.
If you
If you baked
it.
more of the moisture out of it,
Yeah.
you probably could. I'd be curious for you to try and let me know. All right. So that is the flatbread. Any other questions on the flatbread? This is still sitting. Okay, cool. Next on our agenda, we are going to go to the lentil deli slices. I'm going to need the blender for this one too.
Do you want me to empty it and bring it back?
Are you guys going to be offended if I mix red and green lentils? Nope, we're just going to go with what's in here. Okay, so this is what the deli slices end up looking like. You can cube it and use it in salads or stir fries. You can slice it. This is why they're called deli slices, and use it on sandwiches. So it's a good way to add vegetarian protein to your sandwiches. When you are trying this later, the green one ended up the best. This one is a bit over-seasoned, and this one is a bit under-seasoned, and this one is just right, in my opinion. But the texture on this one is the best, and this one's a bit dry. So again, we're going to try and see if we can do better on this one. So I have lentils that have already been soaked. This water was warm when I put it in here. They have been soaking. The ratios are correct on this recipe. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. I guess I could look. Was it a 1 to 2 again?
They're soaking.
1.5 to 3. So that's 1 to 2.
So it's 1 to 2. All right, and then we have a little bit of extra liquid in here. You do want to add more liquid after the fact. So I'm going to dump this in here. Like I said, we're going to mix it. And I'm going to make a mess, because that's what I do. They call me Grace. We're going to use this later, so I'm going to use this to scrape them all in. And then you can choose whether you want to blend your seasonings in or whether you want to add them after the fact. If you want a smoother consistency, add the seasonings down to make it nice and smooth. If you want a more varied consistency, come on, lentils, work with me here. I'm going to be adding more water, so I'm just going to rinse this out. They need to soak for a minimum of 15 minutes if you're doing the red lentils. Again, this recipe calls for red lentils, but as you can see, I did it with the others as well. The others just need to soak for a little bit longer. So when I was doing this on Friday, I started soaking them all at the same time, and then I made the red lentils first, and then I did the green, and then I did the beluga, because they tend to take the longest to soak. So these soak for 15 minutes. The green, maybe soak for 20. The beluga, soak for longer. Okay, this is, you know how with pancakes you always have to like do a pancake or two to test it, and then my heat was not high enough for this, so it's not working the way it was supposed to, because my heat wasn't high enough. But you can never judge the first pancake too harshly. I have to tell myself that a lot. Don't judge the first pancake. If it's the first time doing something, give yourself a break. Make it work.
Now you could also do this at night before you go to bed. You could soak your lentils at night, like we could put them in the fridge and let them soak while you're sleeping.
For sure.
Just for convenience the next
So you
day.
can't soak
Absolutely.
them too long.
No, you can't soak them too long. All right, my heat wasn't high enough, so this isn't flipping. Do you guys believe me that I can make this flip and we can move on to the next one, or do I need to make this work?
You
Okay, cool, beautiful. We're gonna set this off to the side because I need this for the next recipe, unfortunately. Can you tell I'm so organized? I'm such an organized person. We're gonna turn the heat up for
You
this
have
one.
a lot going on at that table, so it's fine.
It's a bit of a mess, but we're making it work.
Yes.
Okay, so our lentils that have been soaked are in here. These I did not blend together. I added in after the fact. So for this one, I'm going to add it in now, just so that you can see we can do it both ways. So you can make these whatever flavor you want to make them. Today, I'm keeping it simple with a little bit of garlic powder. We're going to add some Italian seasoning because I don't think you can ever have, man, I spilled a lot of lentils there. I don't think you can ever have too many herbs. I say that, I do recognize I put too many herbs in the red one over there. I'm also going to add some of our not chicken seasoning. Now, I love our not chicken seasoning because it has a bunch of different things in it, so you can just add one thing and you're done. Unfortunately, we are currently out of stock of our not chicken seasoning. So, unfortunately, you can't buy any today, but you can buy our ranch today, and we are or maybe, do you want me to use the ranch instead of the not chicken? We could do that. The ranch is in this. You're going to try the not chicken in that. This says to let it set. We're going to use the ranch. I'm changing things up on you. We're using the ranch in this one. You can put whatever seasonings in here you want. You have a favorite seasoning combination? Put it in. I gave you a base so that you can choose your own adventure. You have somewhere to start, experiment, and have fun from there. These, I did saute an onion and add it in. Actually, I didn't. I added the onion in the pan. I didn't blend the onion because I wanted that little bit of a texture variation. I think that texture variation is fun most of the time. So we're gonna blend this. This thing is preheating, and I turned it up, so it should be warm enough on this one. All right, our seasonings are in there, our lentils are in there. I am going to pour it into our thing here. And making this in the beginning is an awful lot. You can see the consistency there. That's pretty much about right. The beginning of this feels to me a lot like making scrambled eggs. You know when you put eggs in and then they start to kind of solidify, you kind of have to move them around so that it gets evenly done. That's the same concept as what we are doing here. Right now, it's super liquidy. It's going to, it happens really quick, actually, if your temperature is right. So I'm going to start off with a whisk because I want to be able to incorporate all of the different, like as it's thickening, I want to be able to mix that in so that it is the same consistency. I wish we could get like an overhead thing so that you could see in here because already this is starting to be thicker at the bottom and a little bit thinner at the top. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring this to a boil while whisking pretty continuously. For this recipe, I would highly recommend not using a nonstick pan because A, you don't really want to be using metal utensils on nonstick because it chips it off. And B, this does stick. Like it's going to stick no matter what you use. So if you use something like this, A, you can use the metal utensil, but then B, you can clean it with a steel wool when you're done, and that makes it a lot easier to clean. So for this, if you have just a plain metal pan, I would recommend using that for this recipe. So we're going to bring this to a boil while whisking it continuously. Does anybody have any questions while I'm standing here whisking? If not, we can talk about some of the nutritional differences between the different kinds of lentils. Does that sound good? Okay, cool. Nutritional differences. And what the different ones are good for. I'm going to pull out my cheat sheet here. Okay, so I already talked about the texture differences between the red lentils are going to be the softest. A lot of that is because most of the time when you find red lentils, they are already split. So what you are working with are the lentil halves rather than the whole lentil. Because of that, they take less time to cook. They are also a little bit lower in fiber. Like I said, they're good if you want something that's really creamy, something that's really soft. A lot of curries or dal are made with split red lentils because of that texture. I wish you could feel this because it's getting, like, I can feel it getting thicker. Can you see that it's thicker yet?
Yeah.
It happens pretty quick. It's surprising. So they're creamy, they're mild, they're a little bit sweet. A little bit lower in fiber because they are already split. They're really good if, I know I really like making like a soup where I take a bunch of root vegetables and I roast them and then I blend them with some kind of bean. I often will use chickpeas or a white bean, but red lentils would also be a really good thing it would thicken the soup, it would add extra protein to the soup, and because they're creamier and softer, that would be a good addition to that. Green lentils take about 25 to 30 minutes to cook, typically, so they take a little bit longer, but they keep their shape. So if you want something that keeps their shape, they're earthier. If you've had a lentil, you probably had a green lentil, you probably know that it's earthier. You don't know that it's earthier. That is the lentil flavor you expect, is that earthy flavor. So they're really good for soups or for stews or for loaves or if you want to make patties. As I said before, it's kind of your everyday lentil. It's reliable, it's versatile. If something is calling for a red lentil or if it's calling for a French lentil, you're going to be more similar to it using, like the green lentil is kind of the in-between middle ground. Yeah? Keep stirring, Megan. You can multitask. French lentils are sometimes also called poi style lentils. It's P-U-Y, poi. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think that's a region, maybe, is why they're called that. They also, it said, the resources I found said to cook them for 20 to 25 minutes. I found I had to cook them closer to 30 to 40 minutes for them to be done. That could also be, though, because I didn't bring them up to a full boil and I thought I had, so that could just be user error. Like I said, today was the first time I made the beluga lentils. So, all right, you can see this is getting even thicker. My heat is still not high enough. It's gonna get even thicker. Oh, let me put this down and get into the corners. It's gonna get to the point where I don't even want to use the whisk, which is why I have the spoon sitting here.
You have a spatula at the ready?
I have a spoon. That's what we're going to use. The spatula, I couldn't find a spatula that I was comfortable enough with as much heat as I was going to be applying to it. If you had like a metal spatula, that would be better than this spoon. I am making do with what I was able to find, and I probably could have hunted harder, and I chose to not hunt harder. So that's on me. Choose the tools you want to use. This says to bring it to a boil. If you're constantly stirring it, you're not ever actually going to see it boiling because you are constantly stirring out the bubbles. But if I let this sit for a second, I can see it's bubbling here in the center. So if I'm constantly stirring it, you're not going to see it boiling. At this stage, also, you can prevent it from sticking at the bottom. So you want to make sure to go all the way around and everywhere. Okay, we were talking about the French lentils, yes? Some people say they have a bit of a peppery taste to them. I have heard people say that in person. I've seen lots of people saying that. I personally do not think they have a peppery flavor, but they do have a stronger flavor than a green or a red lentil would. And then beluga lentils are firm, they're glossy. The reason they're called beluga lentils is because apparently beluga caviar is a thing. I don't know much about caviar, but apparently beluga caviar is a thing, and that's what they look like. So that's why they're called beluga lentils.
Probably taste a lot better.
Then the caviar, you know, that's going to depend on who you are. I know some, yeah, I would much rather eat lentils for sure. All right, we are thickening up here nicely. Did I go over everything there? Beluga lentils are considered the highest in antioxidants. So are people familiar with what antioxidants are? Basically, we need oxygen to live. Yes. Oxygen can also be destructive. If anybody has seen Rust, you have seen that oxygen can be destructive because rust is the oxidization of iron. That same thing can happen inside of our bodies. So antioxidants are nutrients that we can eat that can prevent some of that damage from happening. Beluga lentils are the highest lentil in antioxidants. A lot of times when you're hearing about antioxidants, you will often hear about berries, especially blueberries or acai berries. This is another source of them. All right. Do you see how much thicker this is getting? Like it's really holding on to my whisk. I am not going to stick with the whisk very much longer. I'm going to be switching over to the
So if we
spoon.
start cooking now, could we have that be a replacement for mashed potatoes?
You know, you're asking the wrong person because mashed potatoes are one of my favorite foods ever, and I will not say that this is mashed potatoes. I don't mess with my potatoes.
It's like a refried bean though. So,
You could say that. It could. I would be more okay with calling it a refried bean than I would be okay with calling it a potato. Don't mess with my potatoes. No, no. Not okay. We are having some mashed potatoes, so we do have that for one of the. It's not just mashed potatoes. It's on the French lentil soup. Shepherd's pie. It's on the shepherd's pie. All right, this is thick enough. I am going to. I mean, before this was all in one piece, right? Like you could. There it is. It's thickening up. At this point, you want to make sure you have a container at the ready to put it in, and I did have a container. Nope, it's right here. I used it as a heat. This is cool enough now to set on the thing? Oh yeah, that's cool enough now to set on the thing. This will morph into whatever shape you put it into. You know it's, I don't know how to tell you to know when it's done because I just kind of went until it wasn't. But if you look at it here, do you see this darker color versus this lighter color? That is where it is more cooked and this is where it's less cooked. So I want more of it to be that darker color. All of the different lentils are different colors when you cook them, but all of them have, when it's been exposed to the heat, that other color that it shifts to. So with the red lentils, it says that it will turn lighter in color. I would say rather than turning lighter, it looks more like it's turning yellow in color. Oh, look, there's a big thing of it. You can see the different colors. So it is going to change in color as you are doing this. And so I'm just going to try to
So now,
spread
like
this
your
out.
scrambled eggs, we're finishing the rest of
The
stuff in
scrambling
pan?
process.
Yeah.
Yep. While we're still doing this, we are going to talk about the shepherd's pie. I'm not going to show you how to make the shepherd's pie because it is pretty straightforward and I wanted to bake it rather than assembling it for you. So the shepherd's pie, the recipe I gave you and the recipe I made here, I sauteed onion and carrot and celery. And then after I sauteed those three, I added in the lentils and cooked them. If you don't want to do a bunch of chopping, you could just as easily get a bag of frozen veggies and cook your lentils and then mix it with the frozen veggies and bake it. Frozen vegetables, a lot of people don't like frozen vegetables because they think they're a subpar product, but a lot of times frozen vegetables can actually be better for you because they're picked closer to their peak ripeness. When you're getting produce, they're picking it, unless you're at like a farmer's market or something, a little bit underripe so that it has time to get to the store and not be bad by the time it gets to the store. So frozen vegetables can, not always, can be better for you than fresh vegetables. Also, it's a lot less work to just dump in a thing of peas, carrots, and corn than it is to cut, chop, saute celery, carrots, and onion. So that
You
is
even get celery and carrots. Get you frozen too, I think.
probably,
Or,
I don't.
I know carrots and onions for sure. I'm not sure about celery, but
Yep. So on the budget note, it's always going to be cheaper if you chop your own stuff. As I hope you notice, I will point it out so that you can notice. Everything I'm using here, I try to keep things incredibly basic and straightforward and simple because you can eat healthy food on not that much money. I today am using lentils, I'm using seasonings, and all of the produce I bought was under $15. So everything you are seeing today, everything you are eating today is lentils and less than $15 worth of produce. And it's enough to feed all of you. Okay, you can see that overall this is dark. It's not all this dark color, but the whole thing has darkened in color. That's the way this one went. And it's kind of in one lump mass. Like I can pretty much pick it up and get most of it. At that point, I'm going to call that done. So I'm going to try to get as much of it off here and into this as I can. If you want this to look nice, then be intentional about smoothing it. If you don't care, plop it in and chill it. Some people really like for things to be nice and smooth and perfect, and I think that crags and creases are fun for holding on to, like if you wanted to put any sauce on it, or if you wanted to, so I'm going to smooth it out a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it being perfect. I know I didn't finish the shepherd's pie. We're coming back to that. We're just at a point here where we need to deal with this. So I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to be able to just peel this off. You can see it sets, but this is in here. It is going to set. I would not recommend putting this in the fridge right away. You want it to cool a little bit before you put it in the fridge. But once it's cooled, you can cut it and slice it, and then we have this. So that's what that turns into. Shepherd's pie. We were talking about how you could add whatever veggies you want. Add whatever vegetables you like. If you are somebody who wants something to taste a little bit meatier, I would highly recommend using either the French or the beluga lentils. And another thing you can do that does add a little bit more expense, but makes it really good, is saute a bunch of a bunch of mushrooms. Mushrooms are going to give you that kind of bite that you might want from a shepherd's pie. I need to get a sip of water real quick. Can you hear my voice cracking? Excuse me. Mushrooms are an excellent source of that umami flavor. So when I make this for myself at home, I typically saute and add mushrooms because I love mushrooms. So lay that in the bottom. While your lentils are cooking, boil your potatoes. I added ranch to the potatoes to add some flavor. Layer your mashed potatoes over your lentils and then bake it. I baked it at 350 for minimum 40 minutes. I think this was in the oven for an hour and a half because I was doing stuff and didn't set a timer. Super flexible. Can you tell I'm not great with rules in the kitchen?
Or in life?
Or in life. Thanks, Mom. So these little containers are made with the red lentils. If I was making this for myself, I probably would not choose to use the red lentils, but I wanted to make it so that you could compare the three. So there will be one with red lentils, there will be one with French lentils, or not French, beluga lentils, and there will be one with green lentils. So you can try each of the three and kind of decide which version you like the best. Okay, so that is the shepherd's pie. Any questions about the shepherd's pie? Nope, cool. I didn't ask, were there any questions about the deli slices? Nope, awesome. Okay, the last recipe on our agenda is salad. Mother, could you please go get the salad and the lentils from the freezer? We're getting there, yep. Salad, one of the salads and one of the lentils, freezer and fridge. So useful to have somebody who can go get stuff. I appreciate it. This should have cooled down enough. You should be able to see that I can just, nope, not yet. It'll be cool enough in a minute here. We'll come back to that. Okay, lentil salad. The salad is, everybody's heard of a bean salad or cowboy caviar. You take your beans, you take your corn, tomato. That's not what this is. This is more of a regular salad. It's a thing. If you go to restaurants, you can get cowboy caviar. It's beans and corn and tomato and sometimes cucumber and onion and cilantro. Thank you, Mother. Appreciate it. So this is a more regular salad. We chopped up some spinach and some carrot and some celery. Again, I was trying to reuse the same produce so that we could keep things on a budget mindset. All of the same produce that we had before. I drizzled some olive oil on it and sprinkled some of our ranch on it. You can use whatever dressing you want. There are two dressing options, I believe, in your recipe there. There's the original dressing that the person who designed this recipe made, and then my easier version of just ranch and a little bit of olive oil. So it's spinach and carrot and celery and onion, which, thank you, which is a great start to a salad. But the thing with salad is you eat it and then I feel like a lot of times it doesn't stay with me. Like I want, when I eat food, for it to stick with me for a while. I don't want to be hungry in an hour or 2 hours. A great way to change that is to add more protein and fiber. So this is great if you've made lentils for a dish and it's leftovers. Take your lentils, put them in your salad, mix it up, and you've got a salad with extra protein and extra fiber, and it's going to stick with you for longer. And you've got your salad. You could do the same thing with regular beans if you want to just open a can of beans and throw it in. Here's my thing with lentils versus beans. I love beans. Beans take a little bit more foresight. If you're using canned beans, it's just as easy. But if you are making your own beans, if you're buying the dry beans and then soaking them, it takes a little bit more foresight. I have gotten to the point where beans are like my special treat when I'm planning ahead, and lentils are I need food now, I'm making lentils now. So beans, soak ahead. You can do pretty much all of these same things with beans, but lentils, you can do it right now because they don't require soaking most of the time. And there's the salad. Any questions about salad? Thanks for coming along with me on this ricochet of a journey of different lentil recipes. I appreciate you hanging with me as I bounced from idea to idea. Hopefully it was organized enough that you caught onto some threads and can weave them together on your own time.
That was awesome.
So
Quinoa in it?
I make something very similar with quinoa as well. Absolutely, you could put quinoa in it. Yeah. So if you will give me a minute, I'm going to get out. I made lentils so that you can try all the different lentils, and we have shepherd's pie with the 3 different, so you can try the shepherd's pie, you can have salad. It's going to take me a minute to get it set up out here, but we are going to get it set up out here, and then you can try everything and see what you think. And if you come up with any more questions, feel free to ask. I promise I don't bite most of the time. Yeah, there we are.
Do you need help setting it up?
I think we've got it.